What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more ANGE POSTECOGLOU content for you guys today. We have got his top 10 quotes that we've picked out. I mean, you know, he's a really exciting coach because, like, his mannerisms and the way he puts himself across and the way we've seen his team talks and how he is on the pitch and on the training pitch. And there are some really good quotes out there from him, aren't there?
Definitely, and that's one of the main kind of selling points of POSTECOGLOU. It's not necessarily, obviously, it's attacking football and all that kind of stuff, but it's more him as a character and him as a man. Apparently, I've been reading from Celtic fans since he left, about like how he's been with like the press and with the fans when he was there, and apparently he just never said anything wrong. He never put a word wrong, they said, when he was at the club. And we have picked out 10 quotes of his time of Celtic and during his career. They're not like in any order, but there's 10 great good quotes. Some are funny, some are like tactical, so like, we'll get into it.
Yeah, ones that really stood out to us. So let's get into the first one, and this one's on not having a plan B. And he says, "People have been telling me my whole career I've only got a plan A, and they are right. My plan A is to win things. That's all I've tried to do my whole career. And as long as I'm winning things, then I'm pretty good. Then that's a pretty good bet to keep doing what I'm doing. If I stop winning, then maybe I'll look to change the way my teams play."
Yeah, and that just shows his confidence. It's similar to what Pochettino used to say. He used to say, I don't have a plan B, I just try and make plan A better. And I guess what Postecoglou is trying to say is like, he believes in his method of playing, and that like he's been so successful with it so far. I guess he hasn't hit any bumps in the road in his coaching career. It's just been like kind of an upward progression. I guess that is a bit of arrogance there, but I like it.
Yeah, and I think like he has been known to say in the past, not to those exact words, but the same ilk, like if plan A doesn't work, do plan A better. If plan A doesn't work, do plan A better. And I like that. And it's kind of the same mentality as a Pep Guardiola has, as a Jurgen Klopp has. You know, they don't really change up their system and their style. They might make a few tactical tweaks here and there, but they don't change up their system and their style, do they?
Exactly. So, I want to see. We need a better plan A at Tottenham, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and hopefully he can bring that. But let's move on. And this is his quote on him being the Celtic manager. And he says, "When people talk about me at the moment, they see where I am, at a fantastic football club with great resources, where I have the biggest spend of any football club. I've been to the bottom of the food chain. I've worked my way up, so I know about every level of the game. It's kept me sort of grounded and on the course I've been on."
Yeah, so I think that's important because we have had managers previously, though, not necessarily like Jose Mourinho necessarily, but managers who aren't grounded, who feel like they're better than the club. I guess that is Jose Mourinho, but like they haven't.
I thought it was more Conte than Mourinho, to be fair.
Sorry, Conte, Mourinho. Yeah, I think so as well, because I felt like Mourinho didn't feel as entitled as maybe Conte did when it came to like what with his demands and things like that. But it's good to have someone like Postecoglou, who's really built himself up he retired at 27, and he's built himself a coaching career from nothing essentially into now coaching in the Premier League. And like, I know Mourinho got his first job, one of his first jobs in Portugal, but he was always a coach at Barcelona. He had kind of a good. He didn't build himself up from nothing totally. Like, he didn't start off from like a lower level like Postecoglou did.
No, but he was around big clubs from a young age in his coaching career. That's the sticking point. And I think
Conte was a well-decorated player as well.
Yeah, but Postecoglou, like, coaching is like him. Like, even when he was a player, I saw quotes from him. I don't know if you've added them here, but I saw quotes from him saying like he's always wanted to be a coach, and that's been his ambition in life, is to be a football coach. And that's why he retired so early from football, just and go straight into coaching. So it's really interesting. And when he's coming to Tottenham, this is literally the biggest club he's going to be at in his career as of yet, in terms of stature in the footballing world. Maybe you can argue Celtic are a bigger club than us in terms of what they've won in their career. But I think that when you're going to the Premier League from the Scottish League, it's obviously going to be a jump up, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can see it's just not going to get to his head. He's not that kind of character.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's go on to the next one. This is an interesting one on academy players. And he says, "I'm a big believer that if you can produce homegrown talent and players who have come through the club, there's extra meaning to represent that football club for the player." And like, this is something that Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte didn't really get to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's really important that he understands like how important it can be to bring through academy products through to the first team, because we've had a severe lack of them. Not even playing, just even given a chance at this football club for a number of years now. And I think he's absolutely right. I think if you can get an academy player to the point with their first team, that's worth its weight in gold, because they will give every single inch of their life essentially for that club, because it's what they've come through, and a lot of them are going to be fans of the club as well, coming through the academy. So I feel like if POSTECOGLOU can start giving some of the youth a chance, that could be a massive bonus. They can even save Tottenham a lot of money as well in the long term as well. But we have had a massive shortage of that recently, and we've now lost a lot of talent, and Romain Mundle's going to be the latest one on the line, moving on without even having a first team appearance.
Yeah.
So hopefully POSTECOGLOU comes in and he has a real good look at the academy, and not only that, he has a philosophy with the academy a bit. It's again similar to Pochettino, where the academy will play in the same way as the first team, and so he says he does that, so it's a bit seamless when an academy product goes to the first team. They're not just also having to deal with an increase in quality. At least there's one thing they have familiarity with, which is the system. And if they can have that a bit familiarity, at least it'll make it a bit easier to acclimatise to the first team than it would be if like you have to change everything with you once you move up.
Yeah, and since Pochettino has left this club, there's been no pathway whatsoever for youth players to come through. I mean, how many players since Pochettino's left have been given their debut? Probably just Tanganga, right? Who else has been given their debut apart from that? I know Skip broke through, but he'd already had his debut under Poch.
Yeah, Divine, but yeah, not like they made their debuts, but nothing more than that, really.
Yeah. So I mean, like since when Pochettino was here, there was a clear pathway. You saw players coming through and really getting their chance. Whether they made it or not is beside the point. They got their chance is the main thing. And you saw like Harry Kane, like is obviously going to be the biggest one from there, and Ollie Skip as well. You can see what it means to them. You saw what it meant when Ollie Skip scored that goal against Chelsea. You saw exactly what it meant to him. You see Harry Kane every time he steps on that football pitch for Tottenham. You can see like the passion and what it actually means to them. So we need to get that pathway sorted out, and I think Ange will do that. But let's move on and let's talk about Ange talking about his style of play. And he says, I want my football teams to play, and that's to make sure our supporters don't sit down for 90 minutes. Well, I think the stewards might have something else to say about that one.
Exactly. I hope Levy isn't taking that to heart. But look, we have been doing a lot of sitting for the last 4 years, let's be honest. There hasn't been much to get out of our seat and shout about. So I think this is a crucial point. Like, we need to be able to feel that excitement again going to games. It's been way too safety first, way too pragmatic. A lot of the games have just been, let's be honest, a snore fest. Even though, in a weird way, it's weird, because when you look at our season, we conceded 60 goals and scored 60 goals. You would think, oh, we're probably involved in a lot of exciting games. But I think that just papers over how boring a lot of our games are in terms of how we approach them. So I think Ange, judging by what he says and how his teams play, getting the supporters excited, getting them off our seats, and making us believe that this is a team that is actually going to try and win the game, as opposed to always being scared of losing. That's exactly what we want. That's like the first thing we want from a new manager, and it's good to hear him say that. Yeah, I mean, countless amount of games I've been to this season and over the past 4 years where I'm just sitting there and I find myself yawning. And I've never found myself yawning at football before. And it's just like, I'm supposed to be enjoying this, going to watch my team play week in, week out. And it's just like became a chore going to watch Tottenham. And hopefully that's going to change now, and he will get bums off seats quite regularly like Pochettino did, and get that mentality back in the team. In terms of the next quote, it's on changing his style of play for specific games. And he says, my view on that is, if you are a strict vegetarian, you don't stop into Maccas just because you are hungry, mate. You know, that's what I believe in. And I love that quote so much. That's the first quote I actually read on Ange Postecoglou, and I absolutely love it. He's like, you don't go into Maccas if you're a vegetarian. You don't play defensive if you're an attacking manager. And I love that. Yeah. Absolutely love that. And look, if Mourinho, who's known for like being very adjustable for the opposition, like he would argue, oh, you know, Postecoglou's maybe being naive with that approach. But I think it is the right approach, especially when you're taking over a new team and you have to basically get them to restructure their whole way of playing. We have to basically play the same way until we've perfected it by hook or by crook. And I like that mentality. And that is the mentality, like, we're going to have a go. We're going to play our way. And look, you can do whatever you want to stop us. But at the end of the day, we're going to keep attacking you. We're not going to move from our principles, and I applaud that. And I think that's an admirable stance. And we might get caught out, especially early on. And maybe there'll be games where you would be thinking, you know what, if we're a bit more pragmatic, maybe we would have got the result and we end up losing the game. But I think in the long term, it's going to serve you a lot better if you stick to a one way, you perfect that, and then you keep going on that same line, you keep going on that same direction. I remember Gary Neville was saying how one of his biggest mistakes when he was a manager for a short time Valencia is that he had his way of playing, but because he tried to implement it and they weren't able to do it over the short term, he kept adjusting his style, he kept changing things and tactics to try and adjust to the players, and in the end it just became a whole mishmash, and he just kept losing and losing, where he said if he would have just kept right from the beginning how he wanted to play, he might have gotten better results in the long term. And maybe Ange, he that's how he believes, like, we have to play my way and you have to be good enough to play my way.
Do you think that it could be a bit naive at times, like especially with the defenders that we've got at the football club?
It is naive, but at least if we're talking just purely getting results based way of playing, of course it's a bit naive, but at least if you keep playing that way, you'll get to see where the problems are, who needs to be improved on, who can't play his way, and then you change it. If you keep adjusting and adjusting your tactics for the team, for the players and stuff, then you won't get a better picture of how exactly you want to play perfectly and what the problem is sometimes. And I think you have to keep going in your same philosophy, even if it means taking a few batterings early on, just to iron out everything and make sure you know exactly what the problems are and how to fix them.
And I think, a few examples of that is maybe Pochettino, his early time at Spurs. We weren't that great. He kept to his philosophy. We reaped the benefits of it. Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, he stuck to his guns. They're reaping the benefits of it now. And also, I would say maybe Antonio Conte, at the beginning, he was sticking to his philosophy. It wasn't really working. Obviously, he got us that top four in the latter stages of that season, but then it all came apart. But he never moved away from his philosophy, did he? And I think all top managers don't really move away from their philosophy.
Yeah, they can change a few things, but their approach usually stays the same.
Yeah. And let's move on to the next quote. And this is Ange on defending. And he says, "I don't pop champagne corks for clean sheets." This makes me think we're going to be conceding a lot of goals next season.
Yeah, talk about naivety. I think that's there. But look, in a way, yes, we need our defence improving, but at least he's going to be thinking about scoring goals first, and that's where our true talent lies in our squad anyway. So if anything, that's going to be exciting. I mean, I can guarantee you Mourinho and Conte were definitely popping champagne after clean sheets. That's exactly how they kind of built their base off. We're solid defensively. We make sure we're not conceding good chances, and then when we get the ball, then it's like we try to do what we do. But I think his is front foot first. I'm not as concentrating on keeping clean sheets and defending as much as I am making sure that we're building a structure so we can consistently create chances.
Yeah, because they knew as well, like, as much as that's their philosophy, defensive first, they knew that we had so much quality going forward that if we kept it tight at the back, we'll find a goal or two in the game. They knew that. Obviously, it didn't work on a general basis, on a consistent basis. But I feel like this Ange saying he's not going to pop champagne bottles for clean sheets. I mean, I would like to see a few clean sheets, please, Ange, next season. I really would.
Wouldn't mind a few, but as long as we're outscoring the opposition, that's the main thing.
It is the main thing. It is the main thing, I guess. But look, I think that when you're a manager and you're just focused on defense or just focused on attack, it needs to be somewhere in the middle. It shouldn't just be just focused on attack or just focused on the defense. You need to focus on the whole team as a whole.
Of course, and that's one of the biggest worries, I guess, when it comes to Ange, is about his naivety. Apparently, he even some people say he even admits himself he doesn't know a lot about defending, but I don't know how long ago that was. But
this is our manager.
Yeah, I know, but at least it's going to be fun and vibes.
Yeah, it will definitely be fun. Definitely be fun. Let's talking about him talking players during the game, and he says Just get it into your heads. We never stop. We never stop. We'll stop at halftime. We'll stop at the end of the game when we celebrate. But during the game, we don't stop. And that's also a lovely quote, and I really like that. And I think Spurs players were definitely, they definitely took it to heart Spurs fans took it to heart that we stopped a lot during those games, and we just didn't keep going and keep going and keep going. And even this season, how many times we said 45-minute Spurs? Like, why can we only play for 45 minutes?
Yeah, that's been a massive issue with Tottenham recently. Just you look at the players, and a lot of the times they're not running; they're standing around. Even when we have the ball, there's no movement up front. How many times have I said that to you? How many times we have the ball and a player looks up and there's just no movement. Players just waiting for the ball. They're waiting for things to happen instead of trying to make things happen. And that's been one of the biggest problems at Tottenham, a really problematic lack of movement, apart from maybe when we're on transitions or counter-attacks, then all of a sudden we seem to come alive. When the game is set, when we have the ball, it's like everyone's just standing still, like in their very rigid positions. And I think Postecoglou, if he can open that up a bit and almost find new dynamic ways of opening teams up, which looks like we haven't had for such a long time, I think that's going to really improve our attacking play so much. And I think the way he says, look, we don't stop moving. And especially now when you have 5 subs, there's no reason, you can take players, you can have 5 subs now, so there's no reason to say you're tired and stuff, because you can bring in other players. So 100%, I think that's so important for us, specifically Tottenham, because our players are standing around way too much.
Absolutely, spot on. Next one is Ange talking about the naysayers. This one is from April 2022, and he says that people were questioning my appointment. I love that stuff. And people are questioning his appointment once again for Tottenham. And I think people have actually questioned him throughout his whole career, and he's always battered them away and proved them wrong. He definitely did that at Celtic. I know there was a campaign against Ange Postecoglou when he signed there. He won the double in his first year, won the treble in his second year, and he got a big move to Tottenham off the back of it. Again, people are questioning him at Tottenham, whether they have a right to or not. That's another thing. But I think he's going to prove them wrong yet again.
Yeah, and I remember watching an interview of him with a Australian news reporter, literally calling for him to resign when he was under 21 manager of Australia, literally on live TV. And he had the self-confidence on live TV to shut down those suggestions immediately and have that self-belief in himself to say, I'm not resigning, I know I'm good enough for this job. I think even in Japan, apparently, when he went to Japan, there were even question marks there when he became manager of one of their teams, and obviously went on to win the league there. As you say, at Celtic, there were campaigns. Every step of the way, he's always been questioned, and he always comes out on top. So I think if he gets wind, or if he's seen some of the campaigns on social media about him for the Tottenham job, I reckon he won't even think about it for a second. I think he'll take it in his stride. He'll see it as even more of a challenge as well. And a bit like Harry Kane's mentality, he'll probably use it as motivation. I think Kane has a very similar mentality to that. He's also been doubted at every stage and come out on top. So maybe that's something they can bond over, and maybe you can get him to sign a contract over. Oh, I don't know about that.
Wishful thinking, mate. Very wishful thinking.
But I do think those two things are very similar in terms of how they're always doubted.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, how many times have we seen Harry Kane doubt, like the 1-season wonder to the 2-season wonder to the 3-season? You know what I mean? It was just like never-ending criticism of Harry Kane. Even now, he gets criticism, from fans outside of Tottenham. So yeah, I agree. It is a very similar mentality, and it's a great mentality to have as well. Next quote is when Ange was asked about the Rangers appointment whilst he was Celtic manager, and he says, on the scale of things that have been on my mind over the last 2 weeks, I reckon that's registering below what I'm having for dinner tonight. I love that. And, I think Ange is also full of this shithousery against the rivals and stuff like that. And I'm very much looking forward to his press conference when we're about to play Arsenal. I think it's going to be great.
He's full of banter. I reckon he's going to be able to, the fans will fall in love with him once he starts saying a few things, especially when it comes to the rivalries. I think he gets it immediately. That's one of the main things that I've seen about Postecoglou, about what people say about him, is that when he comes into a club, he engrosses himself in the culture, and he gets it very, very quickly. He
speaks the fans' language.
Yeah, he's not just there, like a bit like Conte, or maybe Mourinho, who didn't maybe get the club as well as other managers. I feel like he sees it as very important to kind of understand the culture. I think Pochettino got it, and I think that Postecoglou can go a long way to doing that with his kind of character. And I can't wait when we are playing an Arsenal or something, or we're playing a rival, what he's got to say in his press conference. And also he does seem to have a lot of back and forths with a lot of the journalists as well, asking questions. He's not afraid to clap back at all, and that's lovely to see. But it's good to see he has a lot of banter as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the English press, because I think the English press is very different to press in any other country, to be honest, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. But I'm very much looking forward to his first press conference and many other press conferences to come. The next quote we're going to be talking about on him keeping players happy, and he says, "Everyone keeps saying I have to keep everyone happy. Am I supposed to go around making them cups of tea or buy the wives some flowers? They should be happy with a smile on their face every day because they're doing what they love and representing a fantastic football club." Another great quote.
Yeah, and that honestly couldn't be more relevant to Spurs as well, because we got a lot of, we got a fractured squad, a lot of players who who aren't happy to be at Tottenham or need to be convinced and all that kind of stuff. And I think there is always that, kind of talking, that narrative, oh, how are you going to keep all these players happy? And there's always a long thing about the happiness of players. And it's good to see that Postecoglou doesn't put that at the forefront. It's all about the team. It's not about individuals. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think he's absolutely right. Obviously, he can do what he can from a coaching point of view, but it's the players have their own individual responsibility as well, and I think that's been lost a lot of the time at Tottenham over the last few years. And hopefully he can bring that back. Reading
that quote though, I can imagine someone like Jose Mourinho saying that quote. It's a very Jose-esque quote, but maybe not representing a fantastic football club. Probably he would say playing for me or something like that. You know what I mean?
Exactly, make it more
about him,
ego. Yeah.
But those are the 10 quotes that we have picked out for Ange Postecoglou. Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on the quotes. Which ones were your favourite? Were there any others that we missed out that you have picked out as well? But I think he is definitely a big character. He definitely is a character with all these quotes coming in. So I literally cannot wait till he steps into that dugout and we start hearing these quotes about Tottenham Hotspur. So yeah, that is what we have to say today. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.